We have a massive Oilers trade update as yes, the Oilers still on the beginning of their 2 week break, but when it comes to Stan Bowman and the Oilers front office, there is always work to be done, and there's a name out there in the trading market that the Oilers could potentially pick up on. But all that and more today on Oilers Digest is yes, we are getting ever so close to the start of the Four Nations face-off. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you do so. If you're part of the almost 20% that have subscribed to the channel, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. But folks, if you haven't subscribed already, why haven't you hit that subscribe button yet? For any and all Oiler news here on Oilers Digest, this is the place to be. But without further ado, let's get right into it, folks. With McCann, you believe it. Yes, Jared McCann of the Seattle Kraken is now on the trading block here, but when it comes to the Oilers and potentially filling that gap here for the Oilers, one Evander Kane is questionable when it comes to Stan Bowman. And an update on Evander Kane, he had this to say. He said, "Nobody knows Evander as well. It's not a known fact when he's going to be ready to play. As a result, a non-update update as you get closer to the deadline. When you get, to a month from now, he'll have continued with his training. We'll see how he's feeling, and then we'll know how much season is left, or how much of the season is left. Pardon me. There are too many factors right now to be able to nail it. Now, a question was, what if Evander, not ready for the end of the regular season, but what if he is not ready for the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs? I know so many surgeries the man has been through over the past 6 months, and nothing is guaranteed. And when it comes to the Oilers for, the trade deadline plans, right now they have a projected cap space for the deadline on March 7th of almost $950,000, but they do have their LTIR pool to dip into. Of course, if, Evander Kane does not return before the end of the season, the Oilers can spend all of that at the deadline and enter one Mr. Jared McCann of the Seattle Kraken. As Elliot Friedman says, some players have been told there is going to be action during the Four Nations break. There is a feeling around that some teams that players will not return. Of course, no trade freeze here for the Four Nations face-off as opposed to other best-on-best tournaments. I know, during the Olympics, 2006, 2010, 2014, so on and so forth, there was a trade freeze, but there is no trade freeze here for the Four Nations face-off. So a target that just opened up today coming from Jacob Stoller of Sportsnet here. He says, "I'm hearing Jared McCann could be made available before the deadline. McCann is a versatile two-way scoring forward that can kill penalties and play center if needed. The 28-year-old carries a $5 million AAV before or until the end of the 26-27 season. So it should be interesting to see what the Seattle Kraken do. Of course, again, all over the league, for the most part, with Vancouver, Florida, Pittsburgh, and lastly Seattle here. Seattle did pick him up from the expansion draft there. You can see 40-goal scorer, 70-point scorer in that same year for the Seattle Kraken, 62 points last year, 50 points the year before, 70-point campaign. So he is putting up very good numbers for the Seattle Kraken. So it's almost, interesting to see if Seattle is potentially going into, a rebuild mode this early into their existence as a franchise. They've only been a franchise for 4 years now, but Ron Francis may be pulling the plug on the current plan for his team and going with something completely different. But analytically, Jared McCann, the wins above replacement, fantastic. He's always been an analytic darling. Sure, the even strength offense and even strength defense, both bang average here, 57 and 51 percentage, respectively. Great on the power play here for Seattle. Has one of the hardest shots in the league consistently. He can PK, of course. The PK numbers here analytically not favoring him, but he again does play PK. Finishing is fantastic on an Oiler team that struggling to finish this year. That could be just the medicine that was needed for this Oilers team, and even more analytically here, of course, offensively 69 percentile, defensively 49 percentile, but you can see there in the defense, quadrant there, special teams 80% penalty kill and 44% even at the bottom of the screen there when it comes to the chart. His offense and defense, again, sort of middle of the pack there, but that, the Oilers don't need anything special. They need someone like Jared McCann, who is a Swiss Army knife, can play left wing, can play center. He can pretty much do it all for the Seattle Kraken team, as they've had, again, a very spread out offense. They don't have a bona fide first line, but they do have, 4 lines that they consistently roll out. And the team that they do have on paper, it makes me question why they've been struggling, with such offensive talent like him, Andre Burakovsky, Oliver Bjorkstrand, Matty Beniers, Ty Cartier, so on and so forth. Seattle, had a pretty good season. I do believe it was 2 years ago, as they did beat the Colorado Avalanche in 7 games in the first round. But Seattle, again, very, very disappointing to say the least. But again, more analytics here, just supporting Jared McCann in this favor here. Not just that, but the eye test too. Whenever Seattle and Edmonton do play, normally Edmonton does have Seattle's number, but Jared McCann always very noticeable on that Kraken team. Of course, offense, the past 3 years, again, a little bit lower, but 5-on-5 defense, good. Again, he's a very versatile two-way forward, and that is what the Oilers need. Of course, they don't need guys who specialize in one thing or the other. They need a guy who can pretty much do it on. Jared McCann, fantastic. Again, shot efficiency, 97%. Again, one of the hardest shots in the NHL, and the Oilers do need that. But the season has been a bit of an outlier in terms of production for McCann, but some of the struggles could be attributed to a low shooting percentage. McCann has recorded just 14 goals in 42 points in 57 games this season. I mean, if that's a low light, I want to see what your highlights are, but his shooting percentage is 10.9%, the lowest in his Kraken tenure, comparing that to, prior seasons with shooting percentages of 13.6, 19% in 13.4. So he's on a bit of a heater with the 19% season, but again, it's not all that bad. But there is some bad news. If GM Ron Francis does elect to move Jared McCann, the price tag would be set very high, and teams would need to put together a very strong package. McCann offers a lot offensively, but contributes on the penalty kill as well, which could also impact his price tag. And of course, other teams around the league do have the space, do have the assets to complete a Jared McCann without completely gutting their asset pool. But the Oilers, of course, many prospects. Of course, Seattle would probably try to ask for Matt Savoy from Bakersfield in a McCann trade, or any bigger name prospects. But I mean, Savoy at this point for me would be the only untouchable. If Stan Bowman can try to get creative to go acquire Jared McCann, it would be a lot better than say a Ryan Donato or Kyle Palmieri. Jared McCann, of course, a lot better than those two NHL players. But could you imagine Jared McCann, replacing a guy like Mattias Janmark, or McCann taking over the 3C spot, taking over Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, allowing Ryan Nugent-Hopkins to move back to his home next to Connor McDavid, as he's performed a lot better at that, left wing spot next to McDavid than he has driving his own line, as much as I hate to say it, as a Nuge lover, of course. The Nuge is huge, but he is huger next to Connor McDavid. But, man, just imagine the possibilities. And, of course, like I alluded to, Mattias Janmark, sure, he's had his, offensive explosions in the past, but, of course, for the Oilers, he's pretty much just, a PK specialist at this point. But if McCann can bring something a little more than that, you do that deal every day of the week. But let's take a look forward to tomorrow night. Yes, one more sleep before the start of the Four Nations face-off. Canada, Sweden in Montreal. Doesn't get any better than that. It's a lot better than the 3-on-3 gimmicky All-Star tournament, but that's a different story for a different day. But Canada, Sweden, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Mountain on Sportsnet. Of course, Montreal, one of the best hockey atmospheres in the city, and it should be fantastic on Saturday night when, Canada, U.S. in Montreal. No reason whatsoever. I mean, Canada, U.S., what else is going on? But when it comes to Mattias Ekholm facing up against Connor McDavid, he says, I think I'm living in denial right now. It's going to be interesting. I've gone up against him before I got to Edmonton, but he's a great player. I play him in practice every day, so I've seen it firsthand. Obviously, he's not the only one that's good on that team, but so it's going to be a challenge for us overall. And when it comes to, him giving advice to his teammates on, how to handle Connor McDavid, he says, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. I want to win, and he's wired the same way, so we won't be friends out there, but I'm sure afterwards we can hopefully have a laugh about it. I don't think he has any patterns or anything where you can say, play him like this, and you'll be good. I really don't have advice. You just have to be on your toes at all time and don't end up in a foot race against him. So it'll be interesting to see if Ekholm, his pairing with Erik Karlsson, will be put out there against that first line, that lethal first line that Canada has with Sam Reinhart, Connor McDavid, and Mitch Marner. Meanwhile, Ekholm had a lot of things to say about McDavid. Meanwhile, McDavid kept it very short in suite with the media when it comes to playing against his teammate. He says Ekholm plays a hard game. I would expect him to play me hard. I'm going to go at him too. It's the nature of the business, and we're here on different sides. I hope he's not doing anything too dirty to me, but he plays hard, and I try to play hard too, and I would expect nothing different. So for all you asking the question of, are players going to take this seriously? Yeah, I think they're going to take this seriously. As for many NHLers, this is the first time they've had a best-on-best tournament since Sochi 2014 with the Olympics. I don't really count the 2016 World Cup hockey. I mean, Team Europe and Team North America. But again, with Team Canada, I'm getting excited for this. I mean, what can I say when you see the three amigos there of Nathan MacKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and Connor McDavid all in their, the same uniform for the very first time? It's hard not to get excited about that. I mean, this is shades of the '87 Canada Cup when you had Gretzky in Lemieux, and I guess you could make the the Mark Messier comparison for Nathan MacKinnon here. But for Canada, again, 3 games confirmed for them, and hopefully a 4th on February 23rd with the championship game. But any in all coverage from both Canada and Sweden. Sweden also has Victor Arvidsson representing the Oilers, but they open up the tournament tomorrow night, and then U.S. and Canada on Saturday. Meanwhile, Finland and Sweden open up the games on Saturday, and then Monday and Thursday in Boston. So we will have lots of coverage for you, not just about the Oilers representing the team, but also just the tournament itself. As folks, we have international best-on-best hockey. It doesn't get any better than that. But that is it for today's video. Let me know what you think about the whole Jared McCann situation and Evander Kane. Are you worried that he won't be ready for the playoffs? I mean, the playoffs are a different beast in themselves. He hasn't played at that point for almost 10 months, so it'll be interesting to see how he gets back up to pace. But again, it should be very, very interesting. Lots of variables involved. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe down below. Hit that button for any and all Oilers content. Folks, have yourselves a fantastic night, and we will be back for a Canada-Sweden preview tomorrow afternoon. Take care. I'm Matt.